Brainstorming is a group creativity technique by which efforts are made to find a conclusion for a specific problem by gathering a list of ideas spontaneously contributed by its members. In other words, brainstorming is a situation where a group of people meet to generate new ideas and solutions around a specific domain of interest by removing inhibitions. People are able to think more freely and they suggest as many spontaneous new ideas as possible. All the ideas are noted down without criticism, and after the brainstorming session, the ideas are evaluated. There are many different techniques used for brainstorming, and they all have their own unique pros and cons. One of the most popular techniques, however, is the nominal group technique, which is where participants are asked to write down their ideas anonymously. Then the facilitator collects the ideas and the group votes on each idea. The vote can be as simple as a show of hands in favor of a given idea, a process called distillation. The technique of brainstorming utilizes the logical steps in problem solving by clearly separating the suggestion of solutions from the discussion of their value. The basic rule in brainstorming is that no one can comment on or in any way belittle the suggestion of another member. The only response to another suggestion that will be allowed is the building on it with another idea. This tends to increase the number and variety of suggested solutions, as the threat of having an idea shot down by the group is reduced. Much of the value of brainstorming can be achieved by separating step 4 from step 5 in the regular use of logical steps in problem solving. It is likely that the discussion leader will have to focus considerable attention on keeping these two steps separate in the discussion. This can best be accomplished by getting the group members to agree to use such an approach before they start, and by training the group in the use of this approach during the meeting. The leader may point out deviation from the agreed upon procedures and encourage others to take responsibility to see that the problem solving steps are followed in order. The first step in the problem solving and decision making process is to identify and define the problem. A problem can be regarded as a difference between the actual situation and the desired situation. This means in order to identify a problem, the team must know where it is meant to be and have a clear understanding of where it is currently in relation to its perceived problem. It is important to clearly describe and document what you and the team consider the problem to be. This helps to ensure that the agreement is reached as to the problem and provides a strong point for resolving the problem. Describing the problem also ensures that any confusion about the problem is identified and resolved. A useful technique for describing the problem is to ask a number of questions which can help direct the team to actively think about the problem. Gathering information allows alternative options to a problem to be identified and helps ensure that relevant options are considered in light of the available facts. Without gathering information, assumptions can be made and an inappropriate option selected. Once you have a documented description of the problem, it is helpful to identify all of the factors which are acting upon the problem. One method to help identify the factors affecting the problem is a force field analysis. With most problems, a number of factors are working in favor of the desired situation, and a number are working against the desired situation. In order to identify these factors, it is useful to brainstorm with the team all the positive and negative factors. All relevant factors should be identified, including perception, organizational, and environmental factors. Environmental issues may include issues from both internal and external environments. The internal environment may include organizational issues and factors such as the availability of resources. The external environment may include social factors and factors arising from individuals' private lives. Once all of the driving and restraining factors are identified and documented, they should be ranked in order. And the ranking of the factors should be based on the degree to which the factor affects the problem. We can never overemphasize the importance that you always need to record every aspect of a brainstorming session. It is best for a team to have a scribe during these situations in order to record what is going on and any suggestions that are made. There should be a note of all inputs from every team member where possible. This does not mean recording every audible word, but rather recording the gist of what is important to the session. Proper documentation gives your team something to look back on later, should the need arise. Generally, a good brainstorming session will generate a lot of ideas, many of which are out of scope for the current project. By recording these ideas, the team can evaluate them later for future projects. For future. Once a problem has been clearly identified, documented, and all the relevant information has been gathered, the alternative solutions need to be identified. All possible options that could rectify the situation needs to be identified. One of the best methods available is brainstorming. Brainstorming allows any and all suggestions to be raised and documented. All suggestions should be accepted without criticism. By allowing team members to think outside the square, seemingly unlikely options can be documented. On occasions, the unlikely option can prove to be the most beneficial. Once all of the options have been identified from the brainstorming session, they need to be evaluated. The evaluation process helps to ensure that each of the identified options is fully investigated as to its suitability. For each option, a list of advantages and disadvantages should be created. By identifying the advantages and disadvantages, unsuitable options can be rejected and suitable options can be compared. Once the suitable options have been identified, the next step in the problem solving and decision making process is to select an appropriate option. You will most likely have developed a long list of possible solutions to the underlying problem, but you cannot implement all of them at the same time. Instead, you have to pick up one or two solutions that will provide the biggest impact. In order to do this, you will need to rank your solutions based on a number of important factors, including business factors. A solution selection matrix is a tool commonly used for this purpose. A Pareto chart can also help you to narrow down the list of potential solutions to choose from, but ranking them based on cost and difficulty to implement is one of the best methods. Once a list of alternative solutions has been identified, it needs to be systematically worked through in order to identify the most suitable solution. To identify the most suitable solution, work through the following steps for each alternative. Visualize the outcome and document the pros and cons for each. Brainstorm what can go wrong and how great the impacts would be, and identify who would benefit, who would be disadvantaged, and determine if the solution meets the values of the organization. You will need to decide if the solution is ethical and whether it will work in the long term or whether it will only work in the short term. Once these steps have been worked through, it should be clear as to which solution or solutions are the most suitable. However, if more than one solution is suitable, a decision will still have to be made. When making the decision, remember to make your final decision based on what is correct and not who is correct, and involve those affected by the decisions, as this will help ensure that their commitment and, in turn, the success of the solution. Recognize that you cannot be certain about any decision. You can only do your best based on the information you have available, and ensure that you can live with that decision and its impacts. Once the preferred solution to a problem has been selected, an action plan needs to be created that will ensure that the solution is implemented effectively. The action plan will also provide a measure against which the implementation of the solution can be monitored. The action plan for implementing the solution should include the steps required to achieve the solution, the resources required to achieve the solution, including physical and human resources, time required for each step, including the required completion date and the duration of each step, as well as indication of who is responsible for each step. This report should become an integral part of your project records. Every week, we upload new videos between 5 and 10 minutes in length. where we will focus on the strategic implementation of Lean and Six Sigma. As a Six Sigma expert, I am passionate about quality. And if you are too, then click subscribe to be notified whenever we upload our next Lean Six Sigma video.